there, I'm Andrea Garvey and welcome to the Creative Spark. Every week, I'm going to share a simple 10-minute practice to help you return to your sketchbook or your art journal and make space for creativity in your everyday life. I hope you enjoy them, and I'll see you in the studio. Hand lettering signage, actually in the cafeteria, was one of my jobs in college. And then my very first real big girl job out of college was hand lettering little electronic signs because the person who owned the company had the same handwriting or similar enough that they hired me just so I could write these little signs. So when I took a class from Teesha Moore, she taught me how to do some really cool lettering, and which is right here, actually, in this little sketchbook or art journal right here. I loved it so much and I do it all the time. So I'm gonna share that with you because it's a really fun little exercise. And then I'm also gonna share how I do some writing in my art journal. You can interchange sketchbooks and art journals all the time, but this is a style that I have just been doing because, as also the late great David Hockney says, if you can handwrite, just handwrite, then you can draw. And so lettering, handwriting, all of that stuff, I love to do it in my sketchbooks, in my art journals. And I thought it'd be really fun to share this lesson that I learned because I think you'll enjoy it too. And I hope you do. Okay, I'm super excited to show you my two favorite ways that I love to handwrite and letter in my sketchbook and my art journal. And one of them I learned from a teacher named Teesha Moore, who's amazing. And the other has just been my style that I have done for years and years. And as the late, great David Hockney says, if you can handwrite, you can draw. So if you've been wondering, like, I don't know what to draw or I can't draw or any of those crazy ideas, then I want you to just think about your handwriting. And you may have your own style or you may want to try one of these, but if you just keep on handwriting, you are on your way to being an incredible artist. Okay, so two of the ways that I like to handwrite. One is in my sketchbook. And I'm going to show you how I do that. This is just a sketchbook page I pulled up. And the other is to use lines, whether you erase them or not, in this really cool, I call it like a roller coaster way of doing your upper and lower cases right up to the edge. This is a poem I did years ago. I did not write this. The amazing John O'Donohue wrote this. But this is a poem called A Blessing. And I did this right in my Ranger Dilution sketch art journal. I colored some ink on it first. I put some ink down, let it dry, and then I did this way that Teesha had taught me. I took a class from her. So I'm going to show you these two ways, and we're going to do it today in my everything journal that I made, and I will link to that. It's a great class that I took from another teacher. And it's made with Caslon mixed media paper. So I'm using mixed media paper. You could use any paper you want. And I just want to get started. We are going to be doing the actual quote from David Hockney. If you can handwrite, you can draw. And I want to get started with Teesha's first. So we'll just do that up at the top here. So what she recommends you do is you draw some really funky wavy lines, and they don't have to be the same. They could be smaller and bigger and larger, and all mixed up is totally fine. It doesn't matter. So just draw some waves. If you wanted your waves to be, if you wanted your lines to be gone, to be erased, then you could go a lot lighter than this and then just erase them. Or you can actually use them in your creative, that's fine too. And then I am using La Pen today. I've been really obsessing on this pen, but you could use any marker. I have tons of markers that I love to grab at any time. You could use a micron pen, it doesn't matter. You probably want to draw with a permanent pen so you don't really smear. But what Teesha recommends that you do is you bring your letters, whether you're using a capital or a lowercase, all the way up to the lines. So I'm just going to start with our first word, which is if. If you can write, if you can write, And she recommends that you just mix it up, you just have fun, but you just keep those guidelines in mind. I love doing my Ys like this. I don't know, it's just something that I love to do. It brings up that hanging little part of your letter all the way up. And it can go a little bit lower than the line too. There's no real rules. I just think it's a great sort of template. So if you can, and I'm going to do a lowercase a. If you can handwrite, we'll do right here, and I'll mix that up a little bit too, maybe do a capital N. Sometimes I like to do the I's like that. The T's can be lowercase. Just really have fun. Like, just some of your letters can be curvy. Some of them can go over a little bit. She would set up her art journal page and she would have like a color underneath. And then she would, maybe go out to a cafe or something. And then she would use that space and draw these lines and write what she did that day, which is really, really fun. So if you can handwrite, I'm going to stick this little Y down here. You can, and maybe I'll change. Draw. And then doing it like this style, what happens is these letters, your hand letters, they kind of take on their own little elements of art, if you will. Like, they are like little graphic elements, and you could end up coloring these in with markers, with paint pens. You could fudge some of your letters. I noticed I had this big old space between here and here. So this is me cheating a little bit and just making that space a little bit smaller. Just little silly things. You could have your quotes up like this. And then I'm going to write David Hockney down here. He is an incredible artist. Highly recommend that you look him up. I really love his work so much. So colorful and beautiful. He's got such a positive, happy personality. It was very sad that he passed away this year. But he was one of the American greats. He is incredible. So look him up, and this is his name down here. So when I'm doing a quote, and if I'm doing a, something in my journal, something in my sketchbook, but I'm quoting somebody, I do like to always write their name down here. And here we go. So if you can handwrite, you can draw. So then you can go in and you could add little elements. You could put in little checkers. You could color them in with your pen. And like I said, you could completely go to just black and white. So you could erase these lines and just leave it like a style like that. So you can go in and erase. Or you could leave them and actually draw the line too. That is just up to you. Anyway, it's a really cool way of lettering. I really appreciated the class I took with Teesha Moore, and I'm going to link to her so you can check her work out. She's an incredible art journaler, and I learned a lot from taking her classes. So that's one way. Now, do you see how I kind of outline my letters? I do it very similar when I am doing a little sketch. So if I had a little sketch right here, I'm just going to do a super fast contour sketch in my head of something. We're just going to make this up on the fly. So let's pretend that this is I don't know, what are we going to pretend this is? Like a little flower or something. Let's do that. Oh, we're going to pretend this is a painting. Okay, this is a David Hockney painting in a museum. We just went there. And so then what I would do is how I do my lettering is I start with my first couple letters open like that. And so I have a very similar kind of, I always kind of do my lettering the same when I'm writing in my sketchbook. And it's usually the first few words or the first few letters. They kind of have this outline. But then what I do is I go in and I write in just regular writing. I call it regular writing, but I don't outline everything. I just outline some of it. And I mix it up a little bit. So things that are important, like maybe his first name, I'd like to stack when I'm writing. I always like to draw little tiny hearts when I'm writing. So in amongst all my sketching, you can see different, like this is how I'll do it. So let's do that one again so you can see. So I start and I just kind of like give it some outline. I just go around my letters and it's like I'm not picking my pen up. I'm not trying to do block lettering, even though it kind of is block lettering. It's almost like sketchy block lettering. And then when you start working on your style too, like you'll come up with something and then just keep doing it in your sketchbook or in your art journal or wherever. Maybe I'll just do that and then stack. It's just not perfect. And that's like one of the main things I just want to express. Just do it however you want, but just try different ways. This is just a really easy thing that kind of comes naturally to me now. I've just always loved Teesha's style. I wanted to show you that because you might think that's some fun to do in your art journal. And you might want to try something like this in your sketchbook. So whatever you're sketching, I'm going to link to a sketchbook starter class that you might like. And I also would love to know if you do a certain way of writing, if you enjoy lettering or not. You might not enjoy it, but just try it. Just have fun. And remember, you cannot mess it up. All right. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.